We are awaiting remarks from President Biden. We're also awaiting the White House press briefing as brand new polls show Biden is losing to former President Donald Trump in 6 of the 7 most competitive states in the 2024 election. Hello, everyone. This is Outnumbered. I'm Kayleigh McEnany, here with my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Emily Compagno. Also joining us, Senior Fellow for the Independent Women's Forum and Journalism Fellow for the Steamboat Institute, Kayleigh McGee-White, and former Biden campaign surrogate, Kevin Walling. Let's start here with this new Wall Street Journal poll showing former President Trump is beating President Joe Biden in the critical battleground states, listen to this, of Pennsylvania, Arizona, Georgia, Nevada, and North Carolina. That's a lot of states. The one exception here is Wisconsin, and Biden and Trump are dead even. And when it comes to Biden's ability to lead the country, well, 6 of those swing states cite Biden's mental fitness as a top concern. An overwhelming 72% saying Biden does not have the mental and physical fitness needed to be president. But despite those brutal poll numbers, Obama's former campaign manager believes Biden is gaining steam.
Voters are going to vote in their own best interest. They always do. And it's why I've always been more optimistic than the polls, because voters think their own lives, their own economy, their own state economies are better than they were 4 years ago. And they're getting better every single day. And that's why I agree with you. In 12 polls out in the last 2 weeks, Joe Biden continues to have momentum since the State of the Union.
So, I poured through these polls, and there's one, if I could say top line, Harris, that stood out to me. It was this. And when you add it together, here's what you get. So asked about approval of what the president has done, you look at Biden, a negative overall approval rating of his job as president. He's underwater, negative 22. Now, Trump, how did he do as president in his 4 years? He's above water by 4. That pretty much sums it up.
Well, and, the whole argument about how early it is getting a little old. When the top issue is going to be really hard as a train to turn around, and that's immigration in this country. So it's understandable that where he's failing are areas where he really hasn't been able to address it. Inflation, I was just talking about this last hour, it's still above 3%. That is not where we need to have it, particularly after years of 7, 8, 9% now on his watch. So he's running out of time. That narrative now about Biden is supported by the facts, and I don't know how he turns that around. And that negative number, that's like you're underwater. No one will throw you a life jacket. How long can you hold your breath is the question. Meanwhile, according to the statistics you just showed, Trump is doing the backstroke.
Yeah, he is doing the backstroke and doing it quite well. Kayleigh, Aaron Zinter at the Wall Street Journal did a great breakdown of this polling, and it's swing state polling. So this is like the money polling. This is not a national survey, swing state polling. The top issues to voters always have been economy, immigration, abortion, somewhere there under. And now check out how they're doing on the economy. Trump up plus 20 on trust for handling the issue. Immigration, border security, he's up 20. Mental and physical fitness needed to be president. Trump's up 20 again. Biden is above water on abortion by 12, but abortion can't win you the election by itself.
Right. And you look at the most important question that sums up, Americans' discontent right now is when you ask them, are you better off today than you were 4 years ago? And a recent poll that asked voters this question, are you better today now than you were in 2020? 52% of Americans said no. And I think that's so interesting because you think back to where we were in 2020, when there was a lot of confusion, there was a lot of fear. The economy was totally shut down. People were isolated from each other. And yet Americans look back on that and they're like, actually, that was better than where I'm at today. And that really shows you something about the pessimism in our country right now. And I think that Joe Biden is going to especially have a hard time in the swing states when you look at some of the key demographics that are now abandoning his reelection bid. I'm specifically interested in young voters, people my age. And you see just young people abandoning the Democratic Party in droves, which is really telling considering that they overwhelmingly turned out for Biden back in 2020. And now the latest Bloomberg poll shows that they support Trump by more than 7 points. And now I don't know if that holds. I don't know if they end up turning out for Trump. But there is a very big chance that they just don't turn out at all. And one Axios poll found that 58% of young voters are thinking they're just not going to vote in November's election at all. If that happens, Trump wins in a landslide.
Yeah, no, a lot can happen. I mean, we haven't been through the conventions. We are still a few months out. Who knows how that Biden TikTok operation plays out? We know he has a strong one. But Kevin, to the point of demographics, the Biden coalition was suburban women. It was also black voters, Latino voters, and to your point, young voters. He's still doing well among suburban women. But when you look at black voters, check this out, 68% is what he's polling at, but he won 91% in 2020. Latino voters polling at 48% according to the poll, but he won 63%. And the voters under 30, to Kaylee's point, polling in 50%, but he pulled in 61%. You got to up these numbers if you want to win.
We certainly do. And to Kaylee's point, it's a really good one. 2024 is going to be a turnout election, right? It's not going to be a persuasion election. Everyone has, their thoughts about Donald Trump and Joe Biden. And it's going to come down to those 7 states. And we know from 16 to 20, less than 100,000 votes decided in 3 states the election. And I think that's why you see the president's operation. They've opened 100 different field offices in a close election field. That field game is going to really matter to turn out, 1, 2, 3% in those key coalition blocks that you just analyzed in terms of what actually propelled him in 20 to defeat the incumbent president.
You gave the exact numbers of the power that the uncommitted votes have right now. There were 102,000 in Michigan. Think about the 15 states where you have uncommitted and now uninstructed is another way that Wisconsin had it on the ballot. You put those thousands of people together, and those are the very numbers that you're going to need. That's a lot of pressure. I've been arguing all along. We don't know how they're going to vote in November. You saw one woman say, oh, well, he's got till November to figure out the Israel-Hamas war. Well, the world does.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not going to be up to Biden. But it's interesting. Your numbers match up with where he's hurting with those uncommitted voters.
It's certainly a good point. And listen, Donald Trump also has a similar difficulty. 20% of voters just in Wisconsin last night turned out and voted for Nikki Haley or someone else, and she's not even running anymore. So it's going to be an interesting coalition game for how these candidates assemble their winning.
Both parties have to shore up their base.
Exactly.
But to both of your points, so you have about a quarter of the electorate that's undecided or says they're going to vote third party. That's all shiftable. It looks to be about a third when you add in likely but not for sure voting for a candidate. So a lot of ground left to decide, Emily.
Yeah, all the great points already made for me. Look, I loved your point about the turnout because you're absolutely right. And that is why, as I keep hammering this note, it's so important for the GOP and for Trump to garner, to harness, to ensure that all of those people actually vote. Because these polls don't matter if no one shows up in November. But secondly, the persuadable portion is, in fact, the undecided. And when we talk about these issues that are so important to Americans, the economy, number one, and now we're learning almost 6 out of 10 Americans, almost 75%, that wasn't the same math. Almost 75% of Americans say that the economy is terrible right now. I mean, think about your friend group when you sit down to dinner. Think about your Easter brunch with your family. Was it 10 people? Were the majority of you unhappy? Are you struggling? Are you trying to save more? Are you one of those majority of Americans that can't afford the house, that have dipped into your savings? That's real. And whatever issues that the Democrats tell you should be important to you, you know what's important to you. And right now, I think the biggest, most golden portion of the population are not the coalitions, and they're not those that are the bases. It is those that say, I will vote according to what I feel, not my identity that has been placed upon me. Those are those independents. The economy is going to be so strong, as is immigration.
Yeah, sky-high interest rates, inflation putting a damper on everyone, and today's weather in New York putting a damper on me for sure. All right, well,
you look nice and bright. You look like a spring flower.
Trying to counter the weather here.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.